All right, joining me now is David Pine with the EMP Task Force, and he, of course, has his own Substack, dpine.substack.com, D-P-Y-N-E, dpine.substack.com. David, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Brad. Thanks for having me back on.
Thank you for being back on. Let's go to a couple articles here tonight I think we should probably talk about that you sent me. And this is one of them right here. Russia could join China in Taiwan war, U.S. intelligence warns. Oh, well, this puts a whole new level to it. Not that we didn't expect it, because we know they're in military alliance. We know they're in economic alliance. We know that China and Russia practiced the largest military exercise perhaps in world history, Vostok 18 in 2018. So not a big surprise, but again, this is going to be confusing to a lot of people that have already picked sides when they start seeing Russia joining with Taiwan, or joining with Russia to go. When Russia joins in with China to go against Taiwan, it's going to confuse a lot of people that have already picked sides in the Russia-Ukraine thing, because it's going to blow up their narrative about Putin, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, Russia and China, as you mentioned, have been allies really since July 2001, something I've been focusing on during the past couple decades plus. And that Dr. Peter Pry, our late great task force director, did as well. And, this just confirms what I've been saying for the last several years, that Russia and China are joined at the hip, much like China and North Korea are, and that they're close military allies. As you mentioned, they've been conducting joint military exercises, including nuclear warfighting exercises for the last several years. Most notably, including exercises, off of Taiwan and even Hawaii. So, these are very threatening moves that should make U.S. leaders think twice about whether we want to fight China and Taiwan, because if we do that, Russia will likely come to their side and fight us directly, not necessarily in the Pacific, but as this, as the DI director stated, probably by opening a second front against NATO in Europe.
Wow. All right, let's go to another article here. This one here is Keeping Up with the Pacing Threat, Unveiling the True Size of Beijing's Military Spending. Tell me about this, because they're kind of they got an economic crisis going on over there too, don't they?
Well, it's a manufactured crisis. So as you're aware, China has been fully mobilized in its economy and its military over the past 2 years. Since April 2022. We had leaked audio and video of a couple of Chinese major generals discussing the need to mobilize Guangdong province. But they also talked about mobilizing all of China's 360 roll-on, roll-off ferries, which would be, used in a amphibious invasion of Taiwan. And so, we hear all the time that, by the liberals, that the U.S. spends 10 times more than, more than the next 10 nations combined in terms of defense spending. But that's just a fallacy. China, in fact, according to my calculations, actually, in terms of purchase power parity, they spend 68% more on defense than we do. So that's why they have this massive military. That's why they built up this massive nuclear force of 4,000 nuclear warheads that are many times more numerous than our own. And that's why they have the largest, nuclear-capable missile force in the world, at least by 5 or 6 times more than us, and perhaps far greater than that.
And they've built up their aircraft. There's a quote in this article about their spending. Well, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. China's self-reported military budget undercounts vast additional spending. So it's definitely going up. Tell me about what they've been doing when it comes to the spending on aircraft. And I saw the other day where they now have released, I think, their 3rd aircraft carrier.
Yeah, they deployed, or they launched their 3rd aircraft carrier 2 or 3 years ago. It takes at least 2 years to conduct sea trials and to get their carrier fully commissioned and operational. But very likely, if we found ourselves in a war with China in October, November of this year, that third carrier would likely be operational. So yeah, it's currently in the middle of conducting sea trials. It's been revealed that China has a new nuclear bomber. It's a nuclear stealth bomber, very similar to the B-2 Spirit. And then they also have a sixth-generation fighter that they've developed. I doubt that's in production yet, but it's in the works. Kind of there may be a prototype. So they have a very advanced military, and unlike the case 30 years ago when I kind of laughably described them as a gigantic North Korea, but all this massive infusion of U.S. technology and Western technology and investment, estimated at about 165 billion a year just in U.S. taxpayer subsidies alone, have built the Chinese military into the best enemy that we can buy. And one that's, in my estimation, considerably more powerful than our own, both conventionally and in terms of nuclear forces.
Well, here you go. In the 3 years since he's been in command, Alquano says China has built more than 400 aircraft, 20 major warships, and doubled its missile inventory.
Yeah, that's right. So 3 years ago, I did a study of the Chinese nuclear-capable missile arsenal, and I found that they had 4,170 nuclear-capable ballistic missiles, along with another 500 nuclear-capable cruise missiles. So if they've doubled that, they would have a nuclear-capable capable arsenal, missile arsenal that was over 11 times greater than our own. So this is a vast arsenal. I estimate they have less than 4,000 nuclear warheads. So, obviously it really doesn't matter how many missiles they have in terms of nuclear terms, but rather how many warheads they have. We have just over 1,500 operational strategic nuclear warheads. So they've already overmatched us nearly 3-1. And Russia has about the same number. So together they have between 5 and 6 times more strategic nuclear weapons. Russia alone has 35 times more non-strategic warheads. And, Putin just announced that they are conducting non-strategic nuclear exercises near the Ukrainian border in response to all these massive weapons shipments that we've been sending. And UK have been sending to help Ukraine.
I want to get to that. Just one second here. Here's the next article. Washington Times, BlackRock in China. Nuclear buildup underwritten in part by leading Wall Street firm, says a report. Tell me about this. I guess it goes to what you said a while ago. we have built up the best army money can buy.
Yeah, it's really tragic. If you think about Nazi Germany, we did very little to build up Nazi Germany's industries before, in the 1930s, before World War II started. But we have really just gone all out in terms of, the trade and aid and subsidies. Western investment. We have Western companies that are really treasonous, in my opinion, and the U.S. does nothing about them. There's no penalties for helping China, build up its nuclear missile arsenal. In this case, BlackRock actually it was found to have invested at least $50 million in 30 different Chinese companies that are responsible for China's nuclear missile buildup. But then in another article I sent you, it detailed how 75% of the components of one of North Korea's nuclear-capable missiles that it sent to Russia were actually U.S. components. And so, what I've been asking is, how many North Korean, Chinese, and Russian missiles has the U.S. helped them produce? How many of their nuclear missiles are essentially, mostly U.S. built? And it's really, it would be laughable if it weren't so alarming.
Here's another headline. All right, this is the one I'm going to get to. Russia threatens UK military and orders nuclear drills after provocation. Tell me about this one, please.
Yeah, so the UK has really been one of the most warlike members of NATO. When I say warlike, I mean one of the most hawkish towards Russia, the most pro-Ukrainian, the most in favor of upping the nuclear ante. The previous British Prime Minister Liz Truss was asked while she was running for Prime Minister, if you had to press the nuclear button, would you press it? And she said yes, without any equivocation. There was no context. She just said, yeah. Would you destroy the world, with nuclear weapons if you felt you had to or needed to? And she said absolutely yes. So that I think is kind of the British attitude. It's like, bring it on, nuclear war with Russia, bring it on. And what they don't realize is, one carefully placed super EMP warhead would destroy Britain and kill 90% of its citizens. So as Peter Pry warned, they're playing with nuclear fire, as we are in the U.S. is in Ukraine. France is now reportedly sending 1,500 troops to fight Russia and Ukraine, or at least to support Ukraine near the front lines. We know that thousands of Polish troops have been killed. The Polish Foreign Legion. So these escalations are really pushing Russia into very credible nuclear threats that may in fact end up escalating nuclear war, particularly if NATO countries make good on their threats to send large numbers of combat troops.
You mean like this one right here? France sends troops to Ukraine?
Yeah. So Macron made this threat, and we were, everyone was kind of flummoxed at, why France, as a minor nuclear power, would threaten the mightiest nuclear power on Earth with sending troops to fight them in Ukraine. Certainly one would think they wouldn't do that without U.S. support, or at least a no-fly zone. But it seems that they've made the decision to send, French Foreign Legion troops, almost an entire regiment, reportedly, to fight Russia, and these are mostly foreigners, non-Frenchmen, but they're serving under the French flag, and they are led by French officers. We know there was a Polish brigadier general that was killed a few months ago on the front lines, indicating how much this war is in fact a NATO proxy war against Russia, as much as some NATO leaders deny it. There was a German, I think it was the German foreign minister or defense minister, that stated last year that NATO was at war with Russia. She didn't deny it, but in fact, that is increasingly close to being the truth.
Any other thoughts on any other topic tonight before we let you go?
Well, I did want to mention, Eldridge Colby recently tweeted some posts about how, China's again having this massive missile increase. In fact, there was a Chinese AI controlled military plant that's supposedly cranking out 1,000 missiles a day. I mean, it would only take 5,000 anti-ship missiles to be able to expend all of the U.S. Navy's surface-to-air missiles that would leave it completely vulnerable and sitting ducks to Chinese follow-on missile attacks. So again, I think it's really important that your viewers understand that U.S. leaders need to exercise more caution in terms of nuclear brinkmanship with regards to Taiwan. I do think China is planning on blockading and invading Taiwan in October, and I'm hoping and praying that Biden isn't foolish enough to fall into their trap and fight them directly, because as we discussed, the super EMP threat is massive. There's so many other ways that China could use to destroy us and depopulate us.
Here's an article at your website, dpine.substack.com. General Flynn praises Real War editor David Pine, stating he would not participate in a high-level briefing without having him in the room due to his expertise. And I was on that interview when that was said. There's the screenshot right there. Look at this tweet you included. General Flynn tweeted out, "The dirty little secret is that the U.S. taxpayers are funding all sides of the war in the Middle East. We're funding Iran, a state sponsor of terror, all of its surrogates, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. We're funding Israel, who is supposed to be our closest ally, and we're still funding Iraq, a satellite of Iran. So we're funding the entire war, both sides. That's because of zero, and I mean zero, leadership in Washington, D.C. And we're still funding the war in Ukraine." And of course, what we're very concerned about here is we're going to be quickly moving toward, it looks like, hyperinflation. I guess the bozo that is consulting Joe Biden has even said, we can just print the money. Something I was writing about a few years ago and introducing the term to my audience has become quite common now, and that is modern monetary theory. Nothing modern about it. And but of course, this is just the printing of the printing presses. I mean, former Federal Reserve Chairman Greenspan said years ago, basically you can just print the money. Of course, that's going to lead us to hyperinflation as we see sending billions and billions overseas to Ukraine. But then again, the fact that we're giving billions and billions to Iran, we're giving billions of dollars to illegal aliens. I mean, every time we turn around, we're spending billions, and we wonder, is this not going to create hyperinflation, which in itself is a national security implication, is it not?
Absolutely, yeah. Everything the U.S. Is doing, certainly under the Biden regime, is kind of China first, America last. We're putting our enemies first. We're aiding countries we shouldn't be aiding, involved in wars that we shouldn't be fighting, vastly increasing the existential threats to the U.S. Everything that we should be avoiding. And hyperinflation is certainly a threat that's a likely possibility on the horizon. I guess selfishly, I hope that if it is going to happen, I hope it happens right before the election. So the American people can throw this guy into the office, Joe Biden, who's I consider and Trump considers a Manchurian president. So Trump can take the measures needed to save our country. This is, as Trump has stated, this is the most important election of our lifetimes. It's kind of something that's said for past elections, but this time it's really true.
Indeed, it is. dpyne.substack.com, DPYNE, dpyne.substack.com. David, thanks for being with us and all your great work.
Thanks so much, Brannon. You're a true patriot.
Well, we appreciate the partnership. David Pyne checking in, folks. dpyne.substack.com. He's with the EMP Task Force, emptaskforce.us. All right, I haven't stopped to plug one thing tonight, but I got to, because we are free market capitalists. This is how we pay the bills, folks. Before I go to Leo Holman and a ton of clips. Put your seatbelt on. We have a ton of clips to play tonight. But before we do, I got to remind you, we are brought to you in part by you. Got to get Miss Melissa back on the broadcast this week because she has a score of testimonials to read to you from people that are taking this right here. The Bella Grace Elixir was on the phone today with their CEO. Quite a remarkable company here, folks. This has got about 80 clinical trials behind it. It's not a joke. I take it every day. I've already taken it today, so I won't take it right here on the air, as I'm prone to do sometimes. But this is it right here. Just rip the top off and drink it. Collagen. Went and got my hair cut yesterday, and the gal had to use the trimming, the shears, the, what do you call them, the thinning shears on the side. Again, second time now in the last month. I haven't had that happen in years. But she's like, this is getting so thick on the side. We got to use the thinning shears. I'm like, I love to hear that. I can only attribute that to one thing, folks, and that's the collagen. And you say, well, I'm putting collagen in my coffee. Yeah, well, likely is you're flushing that down the toilet. They don't cut the peptides short enough for you to digest, according to the studies, and 95% of it runs right through you, whereas studies show 95% of this is absorbed because of the way they're cutting it and the high-end collagen being used. And again, of course, it's not just collagen, it's also astaxanthin, which is loaded with antioxidants to take on those free radicals. We know what that means, right? And then something called cat's claw, which is an anti-inflammatory. So check it out. Click order now, get a subscription, and save. Melissa and I get a subscription, shows up every month. We don't have to worry about forgetting. Get a subscription and save. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. Yeah, we got a lot of testimonials. We have our own testimonials. But then there's the science and clinical trial docs behind it. Click that. Read all about it. Another one of the things I think you can do that supports us and I think your health is to take this right here. This is called Numi. This is a swish. Melissa and I do this about twice a day, sometimes once a day, but we try to do it twice a day. And it has what's called glutathione in it. That's a very powerful molecule that detoxes your cells. Again, you don't take my word for it. There's about 162,000 studies at PubMed on glutathione. Check out all of it. Get a subscription to this. You can do that at Numi.com/house1. Melissa, why do I want to keep saying that? Numi.com/house1. Numi.com/house1. The other one is MelissaHousePG.com. This one is Numi.com/house1. Check it out. All right, there you go.